go ahead with today's agenda. Today we'll talk about before break we'll talk about the components of OTBI and how the security comes into picture with respect to OTBI. And after break we'll just explore BI catalog area completely. Before we go into any reporting tool, it is important for you guys to understand what are the areas that are available under BI catalog, how to navigate through BI catalog, and so that it's easy for you to get versed with this area and also develop your OTBI reports. And after that, we will create a very simple OTBI analysis, and we'll just see what are the how to set the column properties, and a very basic simple analysis we'll create today. And the document, the Word document that I've shared, that contains all these steps. So we'll follow that and we'll create a simple OTBI analysis today. Now, to start with components of OTBI, these are the components that we will cover today. First thing is, of course, subject areas, and you have analysis. On top of analysis, you have dashboards, and you have views, and also you have reports. Now, this is the order, but if you look at it, the views comes as part of your subject areas. As part of your analysis itself. In analysis itself, you will see different types of views there. And of course, subject area is your very first layer. On top of subject area, you will create analysis, and on top of analysis, you will create dashboards. And reports are BI reports. You can utilize. I'll explain you guys on the reporting part on how to utilize subject areas to create BI reports. Now let's start with subject areas. Now, subject area is your collection of business objects that is provided by Oracle itself for you to easily create a drag and drop based drop type of reports. So the very first thing when you start with your OTBI creation, so we keep saying it's OTBI reports, right? But it's actually either OTBI analysis. The right terminology to refer to OTBI is either OTBI analysis or OTBI dashboard. It's like non-technical folks use this OTBI reports thing. So the dashboard is a connection of analysis. So when you create the very first component that you create as part of OTBI development is your analysis, and how this analysis gets created on top of your subject areas. And what are subject areas? These are the business objects that is exposed by the product itself for you to drag and drop the columns, and it has its own folders and it has its own columns. Now there are under subject areas. So when you create an analysis, it will just let you to create. It choose the respective subject area, which module it is from, and what kind of data you are looking for. So that is what it lets you to do. Now after you select on the subject area, you will have these type of columns that you will find under the subject area. Now these are the three types of main columns. One is fact column, other one is attribute column, or we call that as dimension column, and the other one you have is the hierarchy. So fact deals with, so using the icon that you find inside that subject area, you can figure out whether it is a fact column or if it is a dimension column. Now attribute is the dimension one. So attribute or dimension, you can use any terminology. Now starting with fact deals around your values, like let's say invoice amount, anything that talks about some numbers or some details that it gives of that particular transaction, that comes under fact. Now sometimes we might get confused which one is fact, which one is dimension, but that to differentiate that, we of course have that icon. I'll show you guys how that icon looks like, and you can differentiate which one is fact and which one is a dimension. So anything that deals with numbers and data, you can consider that as fact, and anything that deals with your non-numbers columns, like your ID columns, and it is giving some information like invoice date and invoice number, supplier ID, all these will come under dimension columns. Now hierarchy, it's just some of your subject area folders will have a hierarchy type columns, especially when you have, for example, maybe chart of accounts hierarchy. If you want to display, you can have chart of accounts hierarchy or any other hierarchy, logical hierarchy columns that you have under each module. You will find that in there. So hierarchy, it's just that a type of column. You just group. It's a group that is automatically created in the view object that you try to access. So it's not a big deal. Hierarchy is just the way of the data representation that you find under the subject area. Now, each subject area, of course, when we talk about fact columns and dimension columns, we also have fact folders and dimension folders. So under subject area, you will have a lot of folders, and under each folder, you will have the fact columns and also dimension columns. It's not mandatory that a folder should have only fact columns and a folder should have only dimension columns. It can have combination of both. Now, if you find any folder that has only fact columns, then we refer that as fact folders. And dimension folders usually contains all this data, transaction data columns, and also your hierarchical columns are usually under your dimension folders. Now, this is this dimension folder, right? So whatever dimension columns that you find inside this dimension folder, in backend, it is actually connected to your fact folder. So of course, all your ID, your invoice number is connected to your invoice amount and paid amount and everything, right? So in backend, even though it is represented as separate folders, and under each folder it is actually distributed among these folders, in backend it is automatically connected, like which fact refers to which dimension column. Now, it can also be used as a common folder, and not used as common folder. It is defined as a common folder among many subject areas. So maybe in your payments subject area, you might have invoices dimension folder there, and also you might have the same invoices dimension folder in your the invoices subject area. So dimension folder contains the IDs, and of course using the IDs we will try to join these subject areas. So dimension folders are the common folders that you can find among the subject areas, because these dimension columns will be placed to join these subject areas. Now, yeah, so this is the last point, is for you to just know how to join the subject areas, but we'll try to do labs for you guys to understand more. But as I said, there are minimal 2 steps of joining subject area. One is to include the dimension column, which is, if you find ID column, you need to choose the ID column between these subject areas in your OTBI analysis, and also you should choose at least one fact column from each subject area for the join to work fine. So just have this in mind. You just use the dimension column, ID column, or any of the logical dimension column to join one or 2 subject areas. So just have that in mind. That is more than enough. Okay, now let's see the subject areas documentation that we have here. I have included in here. So if you guys want to get an understanding of all the subject areas that are available and which subject area is used for what, you can utilize this Oracle documentation. So we will be utilizing this payables, invoices, transactions, real time. So how to go through this document? Now this tells you this tells you the description of this particular subject area. Now on top of that, these are the usual business statements or business questions that are raised by the business users to address using the OTBI analysis, right? So you can, if you see any of your business users having, so this you can refer during your requirement planning, that if your business users have any of these questions as their requirement, then you can directly go ahead and ask them to use the subject area and go for OTBI itself. Of course, along with the limitations that I explained to you guys yesterday. So after you come here, if you navigate to the respective questions, you can see what are the roles that are required to do address this question using your OTBI analysis. So this will talk about the job roles and duty roles that you need to assign to the user who is a business user who is actually creating your business analysis. Now after that, for you to, so this specifically mentions what job roles and duty roles are required, as a separate page itself. But in common, if you have all these job roles and duty roles, then yeah, it's good enough for you to utilize this particular OTBI subject area. On top of that, it just primary navigation also it says, so which data is actually reflected in the subject area. It will tell you that you need to go to payables invoices, and under manage invoices when you do an edit, or under create invoices when you create an invoice. Whatever that you do there, that gets replicated in the subject area. This is what it means. So sometimes you might even get confused as from which SaaS front-end page this data is actually getting created, right? So for that reason, you can, to know the answer for that, you can come to this page and do this. Now, yeah, transactional grain. This tells about if you want to have a specific filter condition to display any specific scenario. So in this scenario, if you see, they have they have mentioned that this can be used to show your invoice distribution. Now they are saying what are the key joints actually that needs to be added for you to display the invoice distributions. What are the key joints? You need to have this. First of all, invoice type should be prepayment, and then you should have this invoice distribution ID from this folder, and from this folder invoice distribution ID should be joined. So these two columns must be included in your selection criteria. Likewise, from this folder you need to have invoice ID, and from this folder you need to have this invoice ID. So this is just an example that they have given for you to do the ID mapping, ID joining in the respective OTBI subject areas. Now, special considerations. This I think they have given for custom rules that we need to create, and or custom actions that we need to take for the data to actually get displayed properly. So they have given for your OTBI analysis, if there are some custom configurations that has been done in your payables area, right? You need to create a custom role based on this account payable specialist, and these policies and privileges must be added to your for that particular custom role. So all these will be taken care by your security team, but since reporting revolves around your backend security considerations as well, I am stressing this to you, and also showing to an area where you can actually find out what are the roles that you need to have, and what are the data access set that you need to have, and also if there are any required custom roles that needs to be created, what are the custom roles that you need to add. All those things you can check here. So this page deals only with the description and also the roles and also the questions. These are the common questions. So there have been scenarios where we have just shared this document to the respective enterprises business users, and ask them, like, if you think that your business questions are one of these, then you can directly go, and your of course your data is lesser, you can directly go ahead and choose OTBI is what we have given. So this acts as your base document that you can utilize to know the basic requirements that are needed to create your OTBI analysis.